A late summer hailstorm in Denver, Colorado. Another city, another hotel room for gymnastics reigning national champion, Blaine Wilson.
Blaine's had a lot of meets this year, over 30, and he's had a lot of pressure situations, the Olympics, and, you know, went through the college season, and so I think he looks good.
Check one straight ahead. Hurry up.
I got a broken neck now.
Between you and me, I mean, he is over there talking to himself way too much.
Coach Peter Corman may be right. Those men in suits behind Blaine are gymnastics judges. Wilson seems oblivious to it all.
I think Blaine's key thing is he has to keep himself in that zone of comfort, which for Blaine is just being very aggressive.
Boxers and rock stars have dressing rooms. Blaine Wilson has a hallway.
I'm ready.
So the national championship for men's gymnastics on the line here in Denver, Colorado at McNichols Arena. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Hicks along with Tim Daggett, and no doubt about it, Tim, the man to beat is Blaine Wilson, as he has in his sights his second straight national championship.
Well, he looks nearly unstoppable, Dan. It is definitely Blaine Wilson's competition to win or lose here today.
In the preliminaries, Wilson destroyed the competition. But he also showed that anyone is vulnerable. Just ask four-time national champion John ROETHLISBERGER. Or emerging star Jason GATSON. Blaine Wilson's first day of work is complete, but it's the second day which holds his fate. That's coming up next. With the rugged Rockies of scenic Colorado as the backdrop, the city of Denver welcomes the country's best gymnasts. I'm Dan Hicks with Tim Daggett and Beth Ruiak. We're at McNichols Arena for the 1997 U.S. Gymnastics Championships presented by John Hancock. This is the second and final day of the competition, which will decide this year's national champion. And it was no surprise the 23-year-old Blaine Wilson was the most impressive after the first day. Half of the scoring totals from the prelims carried over into this final round. And getting some last words of advice from his coach, Peter Corman. And there is John ROETHLISBERGER, who knows what it's like to defend. ROETHLISBERGER has won 4 national championships. But Blaine Wilson beginning the first of 6 rotations on the parallel bars.
And you know, Dan, this is a very improved exercise for Blaine Wilson. He has very difficult skills and 2 different combinations that are both worth 0.5 of a point bonus. First one happens right here. Those 2 skills together, 0.5 of a point. And he'll do it again right here. Another combination worth another 0.5 of a point. That is gigantic in men's gymnastics. Blaine actually looks a lot more calm on this event, and a great landing. Wow.
And a great start for Blaine Wilson.
That was a better routine. Yeah, really smooth, great double back.
Oh, I think it was a better routine as well, and because of elements and combinations like this right here, this is the second skill in that combination, a giant double back.
Didn't that feel good? Really good to pelt.
He doesn't just do the element
Really
as
good
well,
to
he
jump
also
here with the
does it
double
very
back.
smoothly, which is difficult.
Let's go, Jay.
The Stutzler one could have been a little.
You heard Blaine
sweeter,
Wilson.
but
Let's get on to the next event.
can't
Successful on the
My eyes got
P-bars with a solid
only
score.
this one, too. Good job, Blaine. That was the toughest one, first one.
Here is a young face you probably have not seen. 17-year-old Jason GATSON, who is in second place right behind Blaine Wilson after the first day of competition. And Tim, I know you saw this kid about 7 years ago, and when you first saw him, you knew he was something very special.
About 7 years ago at a tiny invitational in Los Angeles, California, saw this guy on floor exercise. Never seen a young man so powerful, so strong, and he has just burst on to the senior level. This is his first senior national championships. And you know, that first routine is a very important one in still rings, very stable event. His major combination right here, this is tricky, nails that handstand. Good solid routine for Jason Gatson, just to dismount right here. Very nicely done, good start for Gatson.
He may be 17, but he is very, very confident. We talked to him before the meet, asked him if he was nervous, and he says, not really.
Yeah. He is a tough individual, deals with pressure very well. A combination right into the dismount, and he just rocks the landing. Great start for Gatson.
Brings a smile to his face on that solid dismount. Tim, that score may seem low, but actually it's not.
No, actually with the new rules, Dan, it's a very good score on still rings.
Well, there's 27-year-old John Roethlisberger, probably still thinking about his terrible start to these championships. The first day of competition and his very first rotation fell not once but 3 times in the floor exercise. Very uncharacteristic.
I have never seen it completely fall apart for John Roethlisberger like it did in the first day of competition. Nothing went well at all, and there were 2 gigantic errors. He's totally lost in the air right here, landing on his side. These are gigantic deductions.
He scored a 7-1 on that routine. After that, gathered himself and worked himself back into 4th place as he begins again on the floor exercise in day 2.
It was a remarkable comeback in the first day of competition. And you know, John, he's a very proud athlete as well. It would have been very easy for him to just come into this meet and not do those tricky things. In warm-ups, he struggled again on those tumbling passes. Let's see if he chooses to do that. No, he is going with an easier routine. He took a couple elements out in that first tumbling run. Changing the routine will cost him a few tenths in potential bonus. But of course, you don't get anything when you make major errors like he did the first day. Smart decision so far. He struggled here the first night. 1.5 twists, no problems today.
Somewhat ironic that when John won his very first national championship, it was staged right here in the city of Denver back in 1990.
Only the dismounting remaining for John. Full twisting double somersault, very difficult. Nicely done.
Roethlisberger seemed to really relish the challenge of climbing out of the hole he dug himself on opening night. Blaine Wilson stretching out. He'll be on the high bar next. And it really is a rare relationship. John's father, Fred, has been his coach. And Fred continues to coach at the University of Minnesota, where John graduated.
And you know, Fred told me that he always kept a distance from John in the gym, but just recently, he's let himself be a little bit more of a friend, a little bit more of a father.
The son, Roethlisberger, is currently in 4th place after 1 rotation. Blaine Wilson continues to lead. Welcome back to Denver. Blaine Wilson, the defending champion, getting ready for the second of 6 rotations and taking to the high bar. And this was a dangerous situation in the preliminaries, almost.
Well, actually, he almost landed on the bar in the preliminaries, and in training all week long has struggled with his major release skill. All of these inside skills earn a lot of bonus points in the exercise. But here comes that release skill. Right here. Perfect today. Blaine is so aggressive in his gymnastics, and it's very impressive to watch. Double-double. Wow.
What a reaction from Peter Corman, his coach.
Way to bone it, Blaine.
Nothing makes you happier as a gymnast
Kick your feet all the way down.
or a coach than sticking that landing, but also catching the bar definitely ranks up there.
Way to go, Blaine.
Struggled on this in the first day of competition. No problems here today.
His full name, Blaine Carew Wilson. As you look at his solid score, he was named after baseball great Rod Carew and former Dallas Cowboy guard Blaine Nye. Blaine's father started in gymnastics at age 4. As you take a look at 23-year-old Jay Thornton, who is in 3rd place after the first rotation.
Last year at the Olympic trials, Jay placed 9th in the all-around, 2 spots from making the Olympic team. He had thought before that competition it would be his last, decided after the meet was over. He was just too close. He had to taste that world team status. His first release skill right here. Oh. Wow, that was way too close to the bar, Dan. Typically a release like this, the athletes tend to err by going too far. Really wanted to make sure he was close enough to be able to grab it. Just too close and couldn't hang on. 0.5 of a point deduction.
And so now he has to gather himself mentally, get back up, and finish the routine.
And that is a big task, especially because he's got a couple more releases right here. No problem there. Only the dismount. Small hop on the landing.
But obviously the fall will cost 23-year-old Jay Thornton dearly. Jason GATSON very nervous about this next rotation on the vault. His back has been bothering him.
Actually had an injury occurred about 3 years ago. Seems to flare up at times. This is a powerful event, though. Little bit off to the side on the landing, but a very, very difficult vault. He will definitely take that one.
Very strong as you take a look at the biceps on this guy.
And you know, with a new code of points, it is so important to have that power, that strength. All of the high-level skills revolve around power elements, and he certainly has it. Leaves the horse 1.5 flips, 1.5 twists, just lands a little bit off to the side there. You see him landing outside the white tape line. That'll cost him 1/10 of a point, but a big vault for GATSON.
And a big score for GATSON, who was 10 years old when John Roethlisberger won his very first national championship in 1990. That gives you an idea of the age discrepancy between these two.
John is probably thinking, you know, these kids today, they just don't respect their elders. But this is actually a very good routine for Roethlisberger with the new set of rules, because he's able to connect every skill one after another. That gives him a lot of bonus. A lot of travels in this exercise, forwards and backwards. Right here, he'll do one with a half turn right now. And like I said, all of those elements connect together. Very solid routine for Roethlisberger so far. Little bit of a struggle there, though. That's going to cost him.
You can tell he is not totally happy with that routine.
Yeah, that's a little bit disappointing, because the exercise itself, right up until the last element, was about as good as John can do it. But this tells the entire story about John Roethlisberger right here. Many other gymnasts would have turned this mistake into a major break, but no way. John Roethlisberger, he fights through. And although he'll get a deduction, he comes out far ahead of where anybody else would have.
More nervous yesterday, or more nervous today.
after a 7-1, I wasn't so nervous yesterday. Nah.
And now that Roethlisberger has fought his way back into this title chase, he is beginning to feel the nerves again. It was Roethlisberger who made history back in '92 and '93, winning the NCAA title and the national championship in consecutive years. Blaine Wilson has a chance at that bit of history if he wins the national championship here in Denver. He's the leader after 2 rotations, and we'll be right back. Peter Corman, Blaine Wilson's coach at Ohio State, likes what he sees. After 2 rotations, his man tops the list as we get set for the 3rd rotation. But plenty of challengers still with a chance to catch him, including John Roethlisberger, who gets set on the rings, and this is a strong event for John.
It is a good event. He's a world finalist on still rings. Everything is about positions. As level as possible. He's a little bit high here, but not bad. Each one of those strength parts needs to be held a minimum of 2 seconds. You also have to swing to a handstand. This is a new element for John coming up right here. He'll do 2 swing elements in a row. A little bit tricky. Not bad. Big dismount, double twisting double. And a great landing. That's about as good as John can do.
So after an indifferent routine on the horse, it seems Roethlisberger is back on track. Yes. His dad likes it. As you look at Jason GATSON in 2nd place, getting ready for the parallel bars.
And Dan, this has the potential of being the most beautiful exercise in the entire competition. But because it's so difficult and the timing is so critical, things can actually go a little bit wrong, but he really swings nicely. Look at the, oh, and right there, just a little bit off balance, but he better get it back together. He's got about 5 elements in a row that all connect right here, one after another. Very tricky, and watch this, all the way into the middle. Oh, that was great. Just the dismount. Step on the landing. Not what he's capable of doing, but still a fantastic exercise for GATSON.
GATSON not only chasing Blaine Wilson, but trying to hold off John Roethlisberger. And Roethlisberger with a solid score on the rings. And Tim, for a guy that you said was capable of much more, that's a pretty good score.
It certainly is. That's going to be way up there on parallel bars, but he could have been better.
Now Blaine Wilson, and if there is a weakness in his 6 rotation repertoire, it is on this rotation, the floor exercise.
Certainly, and the first pass is the most critical. He'll do 3 flight elements in a row. The timing is very, very important. He's a little off. Oh. And what he did, Dan, is he changed the 3rd element. He did only a front tuck instead of a laid out somersault with 1.5 twists. Little bit of hopping around there on his 2nd pass. Now this is not a disaster, certainly, but he loses a lot of bonus when he changed that 3rd flipping element in his first pass. 2.5 twists right here. No problem. Because of the rule changes, Blaine is doing a virtually completely new exercise on this event. Little bit off balance.
He fought it off.
Fighting for that landing. He will get a bit of a deduction, even though he really doesn't move his feet, his arms swinging around.
And he seems a little winded.
Actually, a lot of the athletes all week long have been complaining a bit. We are in the Mile High City, and the altitude kind of makes him a little more tired, but Coach Corman talking about covering that first pass okay. minimizing the deduction, but here's the dismount right here. The first and foremost goal of the athlete, don't move those feet, don't move those feet.
That's a good score.
But he's definitely going to get a little bit of a deduction for swinging those arms
That
around.
doesn't hurt much. You know, but let's get it serious on horse and rings. Yeah, just really swing aggressively.
You can hear Cormer, let's get serious on the rings, and Blaine says, hey,
What do you think I'm doing here?
I am serious. Here's our first look at another Olympian, member of the team that competed in Atlanta. This is 22-year-old John McCready, who is a student at the University of Colorado. Here he is on the P-bars.
His best quality is that he has a beautiful body line, a good look about his gymnastics, very smooth. But he has been battling back from a partially torn biceps tendon. Because of that, on events like parallel bars, he's had to do easier elements according to his coaches. Just a dismount.
McCready trying to hang on to third. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Denver. Standings after 3 rotations, halfway through these national championships. Blaine Wilson with a pretty good lead. Jason GATSON trying to give chase, but it is now crunch time for this teenager from Mesa, Arizona. This is when the pressure begins to build a little bit.
Actually, this was his last event in the first day of competition. He looked almost perfect all day long, and this happened not just once, but twice. Could not hold on to that bar. Here was the second one, almost a carbon copy of the first. Just couldn't seem to get his dowels completely around the bar. And every time you fall off, it is a minimum of a 5/10 of a point deduction. He was chasing, actually rather close to Blaine Wilson up until that high bar routine.
He had a 7.75 on that routine, and coming back from that gives us an indication of just how mentally tough this young 17-year-old is. Here he is in the chase for a national championship, again in his very first senior national meet.
And he's got a lot of stuff happening right in the beginning, but all he is thinking about is that release skill. It comes up right here. Oh, that was perfect. And yet he's not going to do the second one. His coaches said that one would be enough for today. I don't blame him.
The cheers you hear in the background are from another event. John ROETHLISBERGER just hit a nice vault. We'll show you that in a moment. But a nice routine from GATSON.
I tell you, I'm so impressed with this young kid. Mostly the mental toughness.
Well, you heard the cheers. So this a moment ago, John ROETHLISBERGER on the vault.
Caught a peek of this out of the corner of my eye here, and this has been an event where John has really struggled in the past. But a great vault, double twisting Sukahara, and look at that. No way, man, I ain't moving.
The audience lets him know, and ROETHLISBERGER, not 1 but 2, 3 fist pumps. 4. He's really excited about that one.
John has told me that he was going to compete this vault for years now. Well, finally did it.
And the comeback continues, a 9.5 for ROETHLISBERGER. Meanwhile, GATSON with an 8.8.
And he took one of those major releases out, so his start score is lower, but a point better than he did the other night.
Ready now for the leader, Blaine Wilson, and this is the equivalent of the women on the balance beam. The pommel horse for the men is just as nerve-wracking an event.
It certainly can be, but when you're as strong and aggressive as Blaine Wilson, it helps a lot. You get the major bonus points when you stay on one pommel like he's doing right here. And then he transitions all the way to the end of the horse. This routine is jam-packed with difficulty. Good rhythm so far. Only his dismount remaining here. Little bit of a struggle there. Dismount wasn't so great, but certainly another strong performance from Blaine Wilson.
And with the solid lead he has, he continues to just knock off event after event and move closer to back-to-back national championships. In third place after 3 rotations. In a minute, we'll see John McCready as he warms up for the high bar. And I know you like the style of this gymnast.
Well, he actually is a great, elegant gymnast, and I think that this is his best event. He really gets to showcase all of his talents on this event.
I think it's looking good. I'm cramping up a little bit.
Well, Blaine Wilson may be cramping up a little bit, but he seems pretty relaxed after that 9-2, especially. Now McCready.
Very exciting combination right off the top. He'll do an inside stalter with a pirouette right into a release element. Happens right here. Very tricky. Oh, beautiful. Another major release skill coming up right here. We saw GATSON have trouble with this the first day. Perfect today. Look at the rhythm. Very, very smooth and controlled.
Next competitor still rings his David Cruz.
Looks so easy for him. Beautiful dismount. Darn near perfect.
Not much wrong with that routine from John McCready. Looking to move up from his third place spot.
2 great releases in this exercise. This is the second one, called a Kovacs. 1.5 flips over the bar. And I'll tell you, that is a very good sight as an athlete when you see that bar come right into your hands. Very nicely done.
And a very nice score for McCready, but John Roethlisberger takes over the third spot, moving ahead of him after the nice vault you saw. Blaine Wilson worry. Now he's resting comfortably with a lead after 4 rotations. Back in Denver, Dan Hicks with Tim Daggett and Beth Ruiak, and this has been a common sight. Jason GATSON continually getting loosened up. The back has been a problem all week long.
Actually has had almost no warm-up for this event, the floor exercise coming up because of the injured back.
And John Roethlisberger continues his remarkable comeback. Now in third place, his sights are set on passing GATSON in the second position, and really Blaine Wilson has this championship almost wrapped up.
Oh, he's got 2 of his very strong events, still rings and vaulting coming up. It would be a shocker if he didn't win this competition.
Here is GATSON, the 17-year-old, in second after 4 rotations. And how tough is it to compete on the floor exercise with a bad back?
Well, and this is the most punishing event in gymnastics, and the first pass of this exercise is just non-stop pounding, especially on the lower back, exactly where Jason is feeling some difficulties right now. Watch this. But you cannot do it any better than that. This kid is so tough.
You'd never know.
You would never know. And no matter if you had seen this kid from day one, I can remember many times going through competitions injured, and it is remarkable, though, when you're out on the floor, you really don't feel too much. However, after the score is shown, you tend to feel some aches and pains, that's for sure.
The adrenaline does flow, especially in a national championship.
One more test right here. Very, very nicely done. He's a tough kid.
And right there, he does seem to walk back a little gingerly. He does seem to be in some pain.
No question about it. Now watch this pass. Like I said, 3 acrobatic elements in a row, starting right here. And you have to land in a position that puts, unfortunately, some stress on that back. But he does it, like I said. I've never seen anybody do that pass any better than that right there.
1 rotation left for GATSON, and a 9-1-5 as he is obviously in pain again. And the veteran Roethlisberger has the rookie in his sights, just now 3/10 behind Jason GATSON for second place.
And you know, Dan, I don't think that he's going to catch him here on parallel bars, but John knows that if he just gets through here, he's got one of his strongest events, high bar, coming up, and Jason has a very tricky event, pommel horse, for his last event. So John is looking for just a clean exercise here.
What about pride, too? I mean, you know Roethlisberger, I mean, he doesn't want to let the kid beat him in the
there's no
national
question.
championship.
You said it earlier, John won his first national championships, and Jason was 10 years old. He's having a little bit of a problem kind of improvising through this exercise, but this is what John does so well. He might struggle a little bit, but he never gives it completely away, and he does that. Right when he needs it, he always seems to rise to the occasion. Little bit of a problem throughout the exercise, but then he caps it off with a perfectly stuck landing. He's a veteran. That's what you do when you're a veteran.
The current leader, Blaine Wilson, now on the rings, and if there's one event where this guy is confident in, this is it.
If I had to pick an event where he is undoubtedly world class, it'd be still rings. One of the strongest athletes I've seen. Very nice positions. That one starts a little bit high, but lowers down very well. And look at how he just freezes that position, perfectly level. With the new code of points and all of the strength you have to do on still rings, this can be exhausting. You have to swing both ways, and of course, Blaine plans a big dismount, double twisting double. Oh. Wow.
You could see by the expression on his face, he almost really lost it on the landing.
You're exactly right. He just barely was able to keep that on his feet.
What an idiot.
He calls himself an idiot after that.
That's a little bit harsh.
What was that?
But he is never pleased with anything short of perfection. Like I said, double twisting, double somersault, and he just either holds on to this a little bit too long or isn't quite ready for that landing, doesn't see it early enough, lands with locked knees, and that is remarkable that he did not sit down. Really fast feet there.
That dismount.
See how concerned he was.
That dismount was not good.
But with that score, Tim,
Look for
it's
that landing.
almost a mere formality as Blaine Wilson will end on the vault. That's ahead. John Roethlisberger's score on the P-bars, again, could not catch GATSON realistically until the final rotation, so it will come down to that to see who finishes in second. So the standings after 5 rotations, Wilson appears to be headed for the championship, but will it be GATSON or Roethlisberger in second?
Hey, let's finish this good, though, and react to that ground, all right? Come on, man. It's been a long summer for both of us.
A national championship would be a great way to cap it off for Corman and Blaine Wilson. Wilson getting ready for the vault. In the meantime, the grudge match continues between Roethlisberger and GATSON. Roethlisberger will be on the high bar. He needs to make up a half point to catch the teenager GATSON. GATSON will be on the pommel horse, and he collects his thoughts for the final rotation. The race is on for second. All Blaine Wilson needs to do is basically clear the horse, Tim.
Yeah, just jump over, basically. But I know Blaine is planning a lot more than that. The most difficult vault that we've seen in this competition. Same one Jason GATSON used. Handspring laid out front with 1.5 twists.
That'll do it. It's official. Blaine Wilson becomes just the second gymnast to win not only the NCAA title, but the national championship in 2 straight years.
Good job, Blaine. Good meet. Way to go.
And that was great. You know, he could have run down and done a much easier vault, but you know, there's going to come a time when he's got to walk out on the floor competing against the best in the world, and he's going to need to do vaults like this. Didn't need it today, but it was a good one. Just that small hop on the landing.
And Tim, also for his effort, he wins $50,000, and that, as you know, is huge money in this sport.
It certainly is, Dan. That is USA Gymnastics incentive money.
Finished.
And Blaine certainly earned it today.
Big Ten style. Go Bucks, baby.
And plugging his school at Ohio State, Blaine Wilson's work is done. John McCready on the horse in 4th place after 5 rotations, a chance to finish very high.
This critical 1 pommel work doing very well. Long competition. Remember, we mentioned earlier, John has been battling with a partially torn bicep, but going through no problem. Just the dismount. Oh, and right when you thought he was going to make it through, he just struggles. Not enough gas at the end of that routine. Just like I said, not enough energy at the end of the exercise. His coach, Ron Grant, told me John is far less physically prepared for this competition than he is accustomed to. He needs to get back up on the pommel horse, though. His routine isn't over yet. He has not completed a dismount. So basically, he'll just swing around and go through the handstand and get off the horse, and not a bad day, all things considered, for John McCready.
Now the 97 championships complete for the man from the University of Colorado. Which brings us now to John Roethlisberger on the high bar. Again, needs to make up nearly a half point. He's .45 behind Jason Gatson. This again the final rotation and the battle for 2nd place.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, back to the high bar.
And remember, this is John Roethlisberger, and there is no way that he is not going to fight till the bitter end. No question about that. And this is actually a very good position. Remember, this is a higher scoring event than the pommel horse, and we just saw McCready struggle. Jason Gatson could also have some problems. It's not that strong of an event for Jason.
And you know Roethlisberger knows all about that. I mean, this guy is intense.
Here comes his release skill right here. Does a lot of things in combination in this exercise. Little bit of a problem there. Cost him about 1/10 of a point. Nice 1-arm sequence right there. Just the dismount to put a little bit more pressure on the youngster. Small step on the landing, but
will it be good enough to hold off Gatson?
Here is John's release skill. He's added a half twist to this, kind of catches in what we call a cross grip and turns his body after he goes through the bottom here. A new wrinkle in the exercise, and he's hopeful that the judges give him connection into this next skill.
And he's hopeful to hold off the kid. The 9-1 on the high bar for Roethlisberger.
Well, it's certainly no question about it. That puts a lot of pressure on Jason Gatson. Pommel horse, like I said, a little bit tighter of an event score-wise. And as you mentioned a little bit earlier, Dan, and rightfully so, the pommel horse very much like the balance beam. Anything can happen here.
He needs an 8.65 to stay in 2nd place and hold off Roethlisberger.
He can do that, but he needs a good exercise. Little bit of form break right there. Oh, once again, small breaks, but he's definitely holding this thing together. One dismount away. national championships, and I would say it's going to be very, very close, Dan.
17-year-old Jason GATSON needing an 8.65 to hold on to second place.
Great day.
John Roethlisberger trying to cap off what would be a remarkable comeback. Dismal start, the first day of competition, trying to take over second. But we're going to see a lot of this kid in the future. And there is Roethlisberger watching very intently the horse routine of GATSON. And you can tell by the expression on Roethlisberger's face, it's close. 8.35, not good enough, and John Roethlisberger has passed the 17-year-old Jason GATSON.
And you know, Dan, that is just vintage Roethlisberger. Never say die. He is always going to be in there fighting, scraping, all the way till the end.
Father and son embrace. He didn't win it, but maybe it's one of his most satisfying national championships. In the meantime, the winner is with Beth Ruiak.
Congratulations, Blaine. Back-to-back national championships.
It feels good. It feels good. Right now, I don't know what to say, you know, or what to think. I just came into this competition to try and hit 12 for 12, and I think I was 10 for 12 with a couple of bobbles here and there, but it feels good.
Well, from high bar all the way to vault, you actually looked more calm, more confident than prelims. So what made the difference? Why are you feeling stronger tonight?
Actually, I was more tired today than I was during prelims, but you know, I just tried to come out here and you know, Pete said, get mad, get angry, do something. And that's what I did. You know, I tried to come out here and do the best that I could.
In the end, he was something else. A championship of historical proportions for Blaine Wilson. In the sport of gymnastics, a winning margin of 3.2 constitutes a blowout. And this week in the rarefied air of Denver, no one soared higher than Blaine Wilson, America's champion again. For Tim Daggett and Beth Ruiak, I'm Dan Hicks. So long from the Mile High City.